Hello, Year 5 and 6. Welcome back to Wednesday's reading tutorial. This is our very first tutorial in July. How terrifying is that? Anyway, I did say on yesterday's video that today's WALT would be the same WALT for the rest of the week. We're doing the same WALT for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. And that WALT is to rewrite a scene from a text, but from a different character's perspective. So we're going to be rewriting some scenes for the next 3 days from 3 different characters' perspectives. Now, when we talk about a perspective, that is what they're seeing and what they're thinking. Obviously, throughout this book, the person whose perspective we're getting 99% of the time is Cameron. He's our main protagonist. But what I'm going to be asking you to do today, tomorrow, and Friday is to think about what would change in the story if we were getting it from a different character's perspective. I've split the chapter into 3 sections. So if you are reading off the PDFs today, the only part you need to read, the only 3 pages you need to read are pages 158, 159, and 160 from chapter 21. Obviously, if you're doing that, do come back to the video when you then get to hear a little bit more about the task. If you're doing it from this video though, I'd like you to read over those bits to begin with, please. So if you pause the video here, read those 2 pages, start the video again, and then you can read page 160, the final page. I'll speak to you when you've done that. Thank you very much. Okay, hopefully you've paused the video on each of those bits and had time to read them. So, your task today then, as I've written there, we see a very different side to Cameron in this section of chapter 21. Probably not a particularly nice side of Cameron, it has to be said. The way he treats Julie, even if the way she treated him wasn't very fair, the way he treats Julie here is horrible. There's no 2 ways around it. It's not very nice at all, and he should be treating somebody much, much better than this. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just rewrite a section from that story, just the section where Cameron goes up to Julie and speaks to her and is rather horrible to her. But I'd like you to write it from Julie's perspective. As I've said there, anytime there's speech and you want to include that, you should be using the speech straight from the text. You shouldn't need to make up any speech. The things that Cameron said are still the things that Cameron said. It's just that you're telling me about how Julie feels when she hears them, as opposed to how Cameron feels when he says them. So I'd like you to rewrite that. It's probably going to be it will be a fairly long paragraph, might be split into a couple of different bits as you put your speech in. I'd be expecting it to be somewhere between, if you're writing this in an A4 book with lines, it's probably going to be around about 10 to 15 lines long. If you're writing it just on a piece of A4 paper, it's probably going to be about 1/3 of a page long, I would have thought. Maybe even up to 1/2 of a page long. But I'd like you to really think about how Julie feels at this point. Tomorrow and Friday, I'm not going to go over this in as much detail again. I'm not going to show you all this writing at the side. I'm just going to let you read the chapter, and I'm going to tell you which character I'd like you to do it from the perspective of. So if you do struggle with that on another day, come back and rewatch this video, or email me, or ask your teacher if you're in school. But that is your task for today, please. Rewriting the scene where Cameron goes up to Julie, but from Julie's perspective. Other than that, I'll see you back here tomorrow for a little bit more of chapter 21 and for your next character's perspective to write from. But until then, goodbye.